Hey, what's going on, guys? Patrick here from PatrickLawrenRealty.com. Today, I'm with one of my favorite and go-to VA lenders, Tim O'Leary from Guaranteed Rate. Say hello, Tim.
Aloha, everyone.
Right on, guys. Well, today we wanted to make a video because I know that there's a lot of you out there wondering whether you can either get a VA loan or maybe you think I can't qualify for a VA loan because I've got bad credit, I've got a bunch of liens, maybe I have child support, I've got all these different expenses, and I just don't think that I can qualify for it. But today, Tim was telling me on a call earlier about this challenging client that they had. But fortunately, he was able to link up with Tim. And I think that this story is really going to resonate with some of those people in that mindset of, I don't think I would qualify, to see that there's people in worse situations that you were in, are currently in, and they qualify just fine. It just is about finding and putting together a game plan. So what I'd like to do today is really just hand it off to Tim, because he's going to do a little story time, show us the challenges that he was presented with this client, how they overcame them, and what the outcome was. So with that being said, Tim, let's jump into it. Okay, Tim, so let's jump into this. You made this nice little cheat sheet for us to kind of look at for you to run us through the situation that this veteran was in. So why don't you take it?
Sure thing, Pat. Okay, so I'm calling this Mission Possible because when we started, me being spending time with a client, it was 2 years ago, actually, and that's the runway it took to get us where we are. What we have is a scenario where a husband and wife are both retired, military careers, and they're both in the workforce, and they wanted to purchase the home. They're renting it, and fortunately, they had a seller that was willing to help them with costs and credits, etc. So you can see here the purchase price was for $1.4 million on a VA loan, and they had never purchased a home before. They never dreamt that they would be in the position to do that. But I quickly showed them that they made the money, they just weren't managing their funds properly. So that was like the underlying thing, is they did not track their spending. They didn't have a savings plan. You wouldn't recognize them today. Today, they are tracking their spending. They have monthly meetings with a financial planner as a result of getting a game plan together. So here we are now. Okay, so the challenges that we faced with was credit scores. His was 590, and we got him to go up to 627. Hers was 520 and went to 539. Which is below what we can lend at. And I'll get to that in a minute. But look at the late 30-day lates. They had 55 of them.
Ooh.
60-day late, 20. I mean, so, this was not a laughing matter. It was, and I was very stern with them. I was firm with them. And I told them, I said, guys, in order for you to buy this house, we need to change behavior. And that's what started taking place, and you could see it. I'm so proud of them today to where we are. So let me dig in a little more. So they were paying $4,300 a month in rent, and it's a blended family, so there's a number of bodies in the house. The other debt, revolving debt, car payments, grocery bills, credit cards, was $5,345. So that comes out to $9,645 a month that was going out in bills. Outside of that, they had a bill, which is not included in it. They had an IRS monthly bill that they would pay. And we didn't find that out till midway through the transaction, of $31,000. And then there was child support due of $11,500. And I'll address both of those in the end. They had collection accounts, 3 collection accounts for $4,333. They had, in their checking account, they had $2,200. That was what was available currently, liquid funds. Liquid funds on a VA loan. You want to buy $1.4 million house, you have $2,200. Now, logically, you think, wait, what are you doing? Like, what are you thinking? Watch. So, in form of retirement, they had $10,000 that was in the account, but only $5,000 was available. So, here's how it's going. So, we were able to jump in and help negotiate the seller credit. And what we did is we lowered the sales price by $80,000.
Wow.
And yeah, that's significant. Yeah. very much so. And we also negotiated a 4% of the sales price to help them with paying down their debt of $52,760. That pretty much wiped out all of their outstanding debt. We also had them explain in writing the family's extenuating circumstances. Okay, so without going into great detail, what this was the letters were so well written that I basically want to frame these letters. I'm not kidding you. They were so well written and they were truthful. And what it was, in a nutshell, it was a family situation that there was a death in the family, and the family came together and had to bring in another part of their family into the house. So as far as headcount in the household, it put a strain on them financially. And this happened just months before we are where we are now. So it wasn't planned. They couldn't help it, but they did the right thing. You bring in your family. When family is hurting and they need help, you got to bring them in no matter what. Yeah. So the letters were so well written. The underwriter and I agreed that there was no way we were turning back. We had to make this happen. And we continued to press in. We looked at their retirement. They had military retirement income for both of them and disability. And as a result of the credit score that I shared with you earlier, the 539, that just wasn't enough. So we had to remove the wife from the loan. So this gentleman is qualified on his own now. Okay. Yeah. So we'll continue on. So grossing up income, what does that mean? Well, when military retirement is not taxed, and neither is disability income. We can add 25% of that back into, so it goes from $1,000 to $1,250 as an example. Okay, so as far as getting funds for closing, they reached out to a few family members and they were able to string $18,000 together. So those letters came over. They liquidated the $5,000 in retirement. That's $23,000 is what they had. They had 2 auto loans that couldn't be paid off and shouldn't have been paid off. So we did the right thing. Is their children, who the parents co-signed for, they had to refinance those 2 loans. This is why when I talked about Pat earlier about how we needed a long enough runway. Yeah. That took time, so it was good that we had the time to do this. Not everyone, if you're in a contract already, it's too late. So we had the luxury of doing this, 2 years in advance. So we got that taken care of. And I did not know this, but there is an IRS program for somebody in certain circumstances and situations where, and it's a one-time thing, it's called Fresh Start by the IRS. And what they will accept, and they'll review it and they're going to analyze it and make sure it makes sense. But the hope is that they will have that $31,000 IRS tax bill released. They can't make a habit of that. So that would be that existed. Yeah. Then the next is, because he was 100% disabled, recognized by the VA, vets like that pay 0 in property taxes. Yep. His tax bill, monthly tax bill was $622 was the proposal. Okay. He gets to reduce his payment by that now. So all of a sudden it affects the debt to income. So next and finally, the great news is that this loan has been approved. And the underwriter is currently reviewing all the conditions that have been provided. And this was tricky because there were like 12 accounts that needed to be paid off. So we're constantly having to provide the most current payoff statement for those 12 creditors. In the meantime, we're also having to update their asset statements. But that's called fine tuning. And escrow will collect all those funds through escrow. And we're gonna have a happy day. I can't wait to be at the closing table with these clients and be there when their keys are handed over to them, because I think there's gonna be some high emotion, because there's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that go into that. And Pat, we owe it a part of our career, a lot of our business. Fortunately, we've been blessed by the veteran community and by veterans and their friends and family. It's like these are the types of transactions, and this is the kind of grit that you and I need to put in order to help people get into homes. Not everyone's going to be like this, but truth of the matter is, it's so, I mean, I know for yourself how gratifying it is to put a vet in a home.
Oh, 100%. And especially when you see a situation like this where there's no hope and you can be that person to provide hope. And, you know, I think that that's the big thing to take away from this video today, is that a lot of people reach out to me and they go, well, when should I get started? When should I talk to a lender? I tell them, if you're even thinking about it, you should be talking to a lender now. Why? Well, maybe you're not going to get qualified right now, but it's always good to have somebody who's in the space, in the industry, that can take a look at your file and, like you said, create runway, so that if there's things that need to be fixed before it's time for you to buy, whether that's 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, at least you can put a game plan together, whether it's to get rid of certain debt, get your name off certain notes, car payments, whether it's to find different programs like the IRS Fresh Start, which I had no idea of. These are all things that, you know what you don't know. That's an important thing to know, right? So it's like, if I don't know what I need to do, talk to somebody who can maybe assist. And that could be someone like myself or Tim, especially on the financing side. So if you guys are ever wondering, like, when should I talk to a lender? I would say, if you're even thinking about buying a house in the next, 1 to 2 years, maybe even 3 years, or even thinking about buying a house in the future, talk to somebody now, see where you're at, see where you want to be, and see what you have to do to get there if you're not there at this current moment.
The process just couldn't be easier. Yeah, we have the veterans complete an online application. It takes about 15 minutes to complete. And we run what's considered a soft pull credit. And what that means is it will not affect your credit score.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that does is it gives us the opportunity to see what we're dealing with. Do they have enough established credit? Is the credit current? Is it satisfactory? Is the debt to income ratio, meaning is there enough income to support the current debt level or the proposed housing payment that we're trying to have them get qualified for? So there's a lot of variables, and there's a lot of tools and loan programs and negotiation skills, which you and I have exercised all the time, to get veterans in homes. And that's really it is by far my most favorite loan. And this is just more of a testimony of how great the VA loan is. Conventional, we wouldn't have gotten this far. The debt to income on this property, they're actually, believe it or not, by buying $1.4 million property, and paying off all their debt to income is actually going down. Their monthly cash flow, they're saving $1,053 a month by buying a house versus carrying all the debt and paying rent.
That's unheard of. That's unheard of in this market. And that's another common misconception I've heard. My mother is a realtor over in California, and she's never really dealt with VA loans. Like me and Tim, that's probably 80% of our business. We do a lot of VA loans, and she doesn't like dealing with them because she has this misconception that they're very difficult to do, that they're always very picky. But I've found that it's the complete opposite. I've found that they're much more flexible with things, that they'll qualify you on, a lower credit score. They're not as picky as some people think. So once again, you have to be careful with what you hear out there. And again, I would highly, highly suggest, if you're at all thinking about buying a house and you have no idea where to start, where you're at, where you want to be, just open up a conversation. And that's what we're here for, is to guide you. And I always like to tell my clients, this is what we call the discovery stage. There's no obligations here. It's just us to discover what your options are.
That's right. I mean, the greatest tragedy is when people disqualify themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So give yourself the chance. You deserve it.
I love it, man. That was a beautiful story. And again, if you see yourself and you think that you're even similar to a situation that this buyer was in, feel free to reach out to us. As you can see, there's always options. So before we sign off, Tim, did you have anything else you wanted to add to this great story?
That's it. I'm just so proud of these people, and I'm just grateful that I get to do what I do every day. It's awesome.
I love it, man. Well, thank you again for sharing that great story. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to us. We have our contact information down below. We would love to connect with you and help you in whatever situation you're in, or again, just discover what your options are. So again, guys, this is Tim O'Leary with Guaranteed Rate. I'm Patrick Longley with PatrickLongleyRealty.com. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you soon. Aloha.
Aloha.